What's going on, everybody? Doc here, Average Gamer Guys, back again. More Escape from Tarkov news, I guess is a good way to put it. Today we are going to be jumping in. We're going to be talking about everything that we heard from the Tarkov TV that went live just yesterday for the start of the Drops event. So a couple of things up front. If you don't know, go watch your favorite streamers. They've got drops going on, which is pretty cool. So I have gotten all of the first day's rewards up to this point. Nothing super great. But some useful stuff here at the start of a wipe, so that is pretty cool. And Nikita and the BSG team did a Tarkov TV, which we're going to jump into. We're going to cover everything that we covered there, and we'll try to go into as much detail as we can, while also being as brief as we can to cover this quickly. So I'm going to probably throw up some screenshots or some other video or something else going on just while we run through this. I don't have many other visuals, but let's jump in and let's talk about everything that was covered in the Tarkov TV. Okay, as we jump in here, I'm going to talk through these things in the order that they were talked and discussed on the Tarkov TV. So if you do want to go check that out, you can go check out Battlestate Games Twitch channel. You can watch the VOD. It starts, I don't know, like 7 hours into the thing because they had some other stuff going on. They did it for about an hour. It's pretty cool. If you're not familiar, at the end of every year, they do one of these, just kind of recap the year, talk about what next year looks like just a little bit. It's not as groundbreaking as some of the other ones typically where they'll talk about next patches, but they bring through a bunch of the different members of the dev team, talk about some specific things. They spend a little bit of time talking about Arena. So this is going to cover both Tarkov and Arena, and there is some pretty good info in here. So what can we expect for next year, 2024? Quite a few things, actually. New visuals, new vegetation, essentially a graphic rework overhaul for a updated look to the game, as Nikita called it, and the Unity kind of transition patch, whatever that's going to look like. So that's a lot. They seemed that was like the first thing that they talked about and spent a little bit of time on. They're also going to close the game cycle. What this means is that the storyline is essentially going to be done. You're going to have a fully fleshed out storyline that actually lets you escape from Tarkov. They talked about it being very immersive. You're going to learn a lot about the world and the conflict and why it happened and how you got there. So do keep that in mind. That should be pretty cool. And this will essentially also mean the official release of the game. That's it. We are getting out of the beta version and going to the official release of the game. That also means the terminal will be the final map. They talked about this essentially being a single player experience. So something that you'll probably go in, experience, maybe have to, complete some quests or whatever. Probably the final escape location for you. I'm speculating here a little bit, but essentially will be single player. And that's it. And then Nikita has always envisioned that terminal would be the last location, and this is how this thing will wrap up. So that's pretty cool. That's actually really groundbreaking when you think about it. To think that in 2024 the game could officially release is pretty crazy, and get updated with visuals and a whole bunch of other stuff is pretty awesome. Excited for some new quests. They talked about these quests obviously being very long and taking some time to be able to complete, but that part is pretty cool. I talked a little bit about as we jump into Ground Zero, there's a lot of discussion around balancing. Specifically, they're looking at potentially reducing PMC spawns. There was scav spawns as well were talked about, and just making sure that the map can stay, new player friendly was important. And Nikita did voice that, wanted that to be a little bit of the purpose of that. They're also making a very big change, which is essentially 2 instances of Ground Zero, one for levels capped from levels 1 to level 15, and then one instance that is essentially level 15 plus, where you can go in as well. I think that's a huge W change when you think about it. That way you're not locked out of going to that location. It's super fun. PvP's been great. Really good high quality loot for the hideout and some early game tasks. So that is pretty cool that we're going to be seeing that. I should also mention, as the official game release comes to a close, Suburbs was removed from the map, and that will be a DLC location after the official game release. So don't expect Suburbs anytime soon with this whole thing going on. They then jumped into Arena, and quite a bit of stuff going on in Arena. The first and most important one that I want to touch that was a little bit out of order is that they do not plan to wipe Arena anytime soon. They want players to get in, experience, they need to test, they need to see the progression, they need to balance a whole bunch of stuff. Nikita went on multiple times to talk about that the Arena in its current form is obviously not the final version. There's a lot of testing, a lot of progress that they want to get done with this, and there is no plans for any wipes anytime soon. They also do not plan to have any cadence for a wipe. There's a few things that they talked about, but it is going to be very systematic in terms of when they decide to go ahead and wipe, and it's going to be related to major changes to the game, not on any kind of time schedule or anything else like that. One that they specifically talked about is redesigned in the ranked matchmaking. They recognize that the system needs a lot of work, and so that's one that will be coming, and that in that instance specifically would require a wipe. So that's pretty good, and it's also good to know that if you've been grinding towards any kind of skill trees or class presets to get opened up, that that time will not be wasted anytime soon. Chop Shop is open now, shootout only, obviously, so that map, we've seen that a few different things. They talked about unranked being available next year as soon as possible. They want to get that out and get that opened up. Arena access is now 100%. Everybody should have access. If you didn't get an email, go to the launcher. You should have the ability to download the patch, get everything updated, and jump into Arena. So that part is pretty cool. Make sure that you log in before January 5th. You get an extra 1.5 million in rubles if you go ahead and do that. So free rubles, everybody Arena access. They talked about these free rubles essentially being the ability for everybody to go buy presets, spend time. They need players to play to get the testing and get all that progression and be able to help balance some things in the near future. They talked about 4 new locations for Arena, 3 new game modes, which we obviously know, I think, what all of those are. Very much looking forward to that. Again, I touched on a redesigned ranked matchmaking system and new and balanced presets. They recognize that they need to do a ton of work on these things and that this was just kind of their early version. They need to see how these things play out and expect a lot of changes when it comes to that. They think that accounts will be able to be linked to your main Tarkov account by the end of the first quarter of fiscal year 24. So do keep that in mind so essentially by the end of March, we should have accounts linked to our main EFT accounts to be able to share progression, money, etc., etc. We'll see if that comes true, but that would be pretty cool. They are going to work a seasoned-based system, as in many games. I didn't get a great sense for this, but it does seem like these seasons are going to be relatively long. They talked about essentially this season going through quite a bit, depending on when they're able to redesign and update the ranked matchmaking and bring with it a wipe. But expect that these seasons are going to be pretty long, and I'm sure there will be some kind of ARP reset or whatever the case may be when it comes to that. But they want to do a season-based system, which is pretty cool. And again, wipe based on need, essentially specific need for the game, and again, talked about a new matchmaking system to get that. They also talked a little bit about overall for this patch. Don't have too high expectations for future ones. There's going to be a lot that are going to be bug fixes and things like that. They didn't say that specifically, but they talked about this patch being over double the amount of tasks that they have ever completed, development-wise, tasks that they have ever completed for a wipe than previously before. So there's a ton of stuff in here, new location, bunch of quest reworks, a whole bunch of different stuff. I expect that, prior to actual release, we'll get a really big patch that will have a ton of stuff that will be updated as well. But this was a big one for the team, and Nikita and the development team seemed pretty happy about that. And they're seeing a ton of positive feedback as well, which is really cool. If you're not familiar, there's also snow. So that's out. We're going to be putting some videos up related to that and Ground Zero and some other stuff on the channel. And they did talk about with the release of snow, which is absolutely awesome. Looks great. Sounds awesome. Super, super cool. They also talked about that there are going to be seasons in game, that they are prepared for that. This was kind of their first big test of that, and they've been working on that. So that would be really neat as well to get, essentially the 4 seasons of the year. That would certainly add an extra dynamic, be pretty neat in terms of that. And then they could do some cool stuff related to events, I think, with seasons, if they can change them essentially on the fly whenever they want. That would be pretty awesome. So down and dirty, that's what we got. It was a really, really good Tarkov TV. It was cool to see the team, hear from some of the development team, talk about a few things, get some good updates in terms of what's coming for this next year. And they also mentioned and talked about the patch. Certainly lots of stuff that they still need to fix, tons of bug fixes, tons of optimization for Arena as well. All of the new systems that they brought into EFT, essentially the maps were not designed around those systems because they weren't sure exactly, at that point during development when they were going to be in the game. So there's going to be some additional tweaks, but I know personally for me, I'm looking forward to a handful of these things the most. Obviously Arena and any changes and updates and balancing that we can get there. It's super fun. I've been having a blast. The new recoil system is great. The maps for the most part are really, really cool. I enjoy those. I'm looking forward to new maps. I'm looking forward to the shootout game mode where we get to play co-op with some buddies, take down some scavs. That could be a really, really fun way, blow off a little bit of stress, and maybe help with a little bit of the grind for ranking up your presets without having to go in and just be sweaty all the time in order to try to get those wins. So that would be really nice. I'm very much looking forward to continued updates for EFT, right? Quests specifically, and I'm most excited for this game to go to release and have the full quest line progression system ironed out. I hope they spend a ton of time doing that, but if they do, I think it could be absolutely awesome. This patch has been great. There's certainly a few bugs and some things that need to get worked out, but overall, when you think about vaulting, the recoil changes, ground zero, snow, I mean, just a ton of the stuff that they put in here has been a really, really cool update to the features. I'm seeing some pretty good wins in terms of tasks as well that have been updated, so stay tuned to the channel. As we progress through that, we're going to be playing our main account. We're moving through the early game tasks. We've got the ground zero tasks up, so if you're jumping into this and you want to check those out and need some help, we've got a guide up for those. In addition, we'll be putting up a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll also be starting up our hardcore and our solo standard playthrough series, both those series coming up on the channel very, very quickly, so you'll be able to see us kind of work these things live, and that should be pretty fun, and should be good seasons of both of those, I hope, with all of the changes and the new stuff that we have to look forward to. So I'm going to close this one out and flash some socials, give some love to the channel. I do appreciate it. It was an awesome 2023. Looking for an even better 2024. We're going to stay hard on the Escape from Tarkov and Arena grind. Be posting a whole bunch of stuff, hopefully doing some different form content as well. So if you're interested in that, we'd appreciate that. We might even get back to streaming. Who knows? We'll see what we'll see what happens with that. But links in the description, likes and comments are great. Share this with some friends if they didn't catch Tarkov TV and you thought it was a good recap for it. And just thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I'll close it out. Doc Average Gamer, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you next one. Peace.